So yeah, Russell, the counselor, he unlocked the gate and says, Hanson, let me see what you can do. And I remember my first assignment was going down and picking up toilet paper. I had to take this push cart, and I had to load up, I believe, 12 boxes of toilet paper for all the inmates on the floor, the 11th floor. And it was cool because you got to get out of the building, you know, somewhat. We got in the elevator, we went down to the basement, and you're on this loading dock, and you can like see the fresh air, you can see freedom, but you know, you have guards everywhere, obviously. So you're looking, you're like, wow, what a surreal feeling that would be to be able to just like cross over and just touch a little freedom, knowing that I have this big stretch that I'm looking at. And it was an experience. I remember it was like I wanted to go back to my cell that night and just like cry, realizing like, fuck, I'm never gonna get out of here, right? That's the closest to freedom I'm gonna see in a long time. And you gotta remember, this is like 3 months into the start of my case, my trial, and you know, I just continued to fight it. And Russell and I became very close. You know, I was probably his best orderly. Anytime he needed something, he could count on me. He'd wake me up at 2 in the morning. If he needed me to, you know, clean the shower, or if his office was dirty, whatever it may be, he knew that I would be willing to help him just because I like to get out of that cell. I have the worst ADHD. And I knew that seeing that freedom, that light, that I still had a little life ahead of me, and I knew one day I would get out and I would cherish the moment, and here we are. Make sure, girl, I won't have the right words every time.
Was there anything that you saw entrepreneurially that inspired you or caught your eye?
Yeah, you know, I saw this guy we call the store man, right? His name was Alejandro, and he was in cell block 2, and he ran under the Paisa car. And he had this business model that was insane. It was a 50% markup every week he was making. And then what you do is, if you wanted to, he had what was called a store, or a tienda, you say in Spanish. And what it is anything that you purchase from him, he charges you 50%. So basically his rule is this: he's gonna give you 2 soups, and then when you take those 2 soups from him, the next week when you go to commissary, you are to replace the 2 plus a third. So he's making 50% return on his money on a weekly basis. As an entrepreneur, I'm doing the numbers in my head, and I'm like, 50% a week times 4 weeks, that's 200% a month, times a year, that's 2,400% markup he's making on his money. So I was like, man, this is a great model. So what happens is, during like holidays, sometimes the commissary's closed. So what he would do is he would stock up, you know, soups, coffee, stuff that people need on a day-to-day basis. And he would get so savvy, he would say, hey, during the holidays, if we can't go to commissary, unfortunately, the markup is 100%. So what he would do is he would stockpile everything, because he knows if we can't go to commissary, people are gonna pay whatever they have to in order to get their daily, you know, their coffee or their soups. So what he would do is he'd say, for every soup you buy, you owe me another one. So when you buy 1 soup during the holiday week, the next week you'd owe him 2. So he's making 100% markup. So when I saw that business model, I said to myself, okay, if Alejandro can do this, why can't I do this? So I remember I said, I'm gonna go into business with one of the white boys that doesn't have, you know, money to spend for commissary, and I'm gonna give him an incentive. I'm gonna say, hey, you run my store, and I'm gonna give you a $20 spending limit a week. So I went into business and I provided the white car, the blacks, the Mexicans. I provided something that was a little more cheaper. You know, I provided a 30% markup because I thought 50% was a little high. So for every $10 that you purchased, you'd owe me $3 in commissary as the VIG. So I did the math. I'm still making 120% a month return on my money. So it was a business move that I made, and at the end of the day, Alejandro was still making money. People would come to me and I wouldn't have a certain product that Alejandro carried. I didn't carry a lot of soups because I was healthy. I carried a lot of coffee because that was a high dollar item. I carried a lot of tunas because I ate a lot of tuna and mackerel for protein. So I carried stuff that I would need in case I ever ran out of food. I could go to my store and be like, okay, give me some tuna, give me some mackerel, I need some coffee. And that's kind of how I ran my store. Years later, I said to myself, well, the store business was cool. Once I got to the prison yards, I noticed like there were stores on every block of the prison. Like everyone had a store. So I said, man, I got to get creative. And I was already healthy as it was. I was making my protein shakes. And like I said, one day my protein shake locked up. You guys know my story. It turned into an ice cream. That day that protein shake turned into ice cream, the bell went off in my head, right? I'm like, okay, I think I'm onto something. So I said, screw the store business that I used to have back at MCC San Diego. Screw the ceviche business I used to have over at Lompoc. I said, I'm gonna start making ice cream now, and it's gonna be protein ice cream, and it's healthy, right? Like, who can turn that down? Like, everyone wants ice cream. So my motto was like, I scream, you scream, we all scream protein, because it was protein ice cream. So that was my hustle for like the last 4 years of my bid, and it was just a healthy treat, you know. And I think of, you know, people that are getting high or eating soups, and it's like, man, like, how do you live with yourself? It was just so disappointing to see people just give up on themselves. And I was always about, you know, that mental health, that cognitive thinking, strong, you know, staying in shape, you know, working on my masters, you know, being clean on the inside and the outside of my body. So I said, well, what not better of a treat than some innocent ice cream?